A prehistoric teenage girl looks down and sees blood. No one warned her. No one explained it. There's no mother nearby, no book, no internet, not even a word for what's happening to her body. For one terrifying second, she thinks she's dying. Now stop and sit with this for a second. That exact moment, that exact fear, happened to every single woman who has ever lived. Every queen, every peasant, every warrior's wife, every woman on every continent for a few 100,000 years. And somehow, historians will write 400 pages about how ancient men built roads and not one paragraph about this. That ends today. We're going all the way back. Prehistory, Egypt, Greece, Rome, medieval Europe, and beyond, to answer one question nobody bothers to ask. What actually happened the first time? Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. We don't actually know what that first prehistoric period felt like, emotionally. Nobody wrote it down. There's no cave painting captioned Day 1, extremely confused. Anyone who tells you exactly what she thought is guessing. But here's what we do know, and it's stranger than you'd expect. Puberty isn't just a timer that goes off at a certain age. It's an energy calculation. Researcher Rose Frisch found that a girl's body needs to hit a minimum body fat threshold before menstruation even starts. Translation: no spare energy, no period. Your body checks the fuel gauge before it commits to reproduction. So when did this actually kick in for a prehistoric teenager? Later than you think. Anthropologist Nancy Howell studied the Kalahari's Kung people who still live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle and found first periods happening around age 16, not 12 or 13 like today. Harder labor, leaner diets, constant physical demand. All of it pushes the timeline back. So picture her, 16 years old, deep in prehistory, seeing blood for the first time, with absolutely nothing to prepare her. What happened next is where it gets interesting. Ancient Egypt is basically the golden child of this story, so let's start there. The Kahun papyrus and the Ebers papyrus, the oldest medical documents we have, dating back over 3,500 years, casually discuss menstruation right alongside pregnancy and contraception. Egyptian doctors weren't squeamish. They treated it like medicine because it was medicine. Practically speaking, historians believe Egyptian women used softened papyrus and rolled linen as absorbent material. Cheap, available, washable. Very on brand for a civilization that also invented the calendar and dental work. Culturally? Egypt didn't treat periods as shameful. Menstruation got symbolically linked to Isis and to the flooding of the Nile, the exact cycle that made Egyptian civilization possible in the first place. A woman's body doing something rhythmic and life-giving wasn't a curse. It was on theme. Compare that to what's coming next, and Egypt starts looking like the reasonable one in the room. Ancient Greece gave us democracy, geometry, and Aristotle confidently explaining that menstrual blood was just failed semen. His theory: women's bodies tried to make semen like men's did, but because women were colder and weaker, the process failed, and you got a period instead. This wasn't a fringe opinion. This was mainstream scientific consensus for centuries. Meanwhile, actual Greek women were using wool. Greece ran on sheep farming, so wool was everywhere, fashioned into pads, and possibly early plug-like inserts, plus belts to hold everything in place. Hippocrates, to his credit, wrote about periods as a normal health indicator, not a defect. One Greek genius got it right. The other one didn't. Then Rome shows up with Pliny the Elder, who wrote, with total confidence, that a menstruating woman could kill crops just by walking near them, dull a sword by touching it, turn wine to vinegar, and scare off hailstorms. He wrote this in a 37-volume encyclopedia that people treated as serious science. Regular Roman women, understandably, ignored this and got on with their lives using wool, soft cloth, and sea sponges pulled straight from the Mediterranean. Notice the pattern already forming. The materials were never the problem. Wool, linen, sponges. All abundant, all functional. The problem was what men decided those materials meant. Across an enormous number of ancient cultures, first periods didn't just happen quietly. They triggered rules. In ancient Jewish law, A menstruating woman was considered ritually impure, or nidda, requiring separation and a ritual bath before life resumed as normal. Ancient Hindu texts contained similar restrictions around cooking, temples, and contact. Zoroastrian tradition took it even further, isolating women from fire, water, and earth itself. But here's the twist. It wasn't always punishment. In many indigenous traditions across the Americas, menstruating women moved into dedicated moon lodges, and the framing wasn't, "You're contaminated." It was, "You're at your most spiritually powerful right now, so step back from your chores." Some accounts describe women returning from these lodges with elevated status, not shame. Same biological event. Completely different meaning, depending entirely on what the culture decided to believe about it. Then we hit medieval Europe, where physicians, trained in leftover Greek and Roman theory, actually believed the opposite of impure. They thought stopping your period was dangerous because the blood needed somewhere to go. Doctors prescribed herbs called emmenagogues specifically to bring on a late period. Some of those herbs genuinely worked, biologically. Practically, most women, especially poor women doing constant physical labor, just used rags, wool, or nothing at all, held in place under heavy layered skirts. Here's the fact that should genuinely break your brain. The very first commercial pad, called Lister's Towels, launched around 1896, and it flopped. Victorian society considered it too shameful to even sell over the counter, let alone advertise. It took World War I nurses, who noticed leftover wood pulp bandage material absorbed blood far better than cloth, to accidentally kickstart the entire modern sanitary product industry. Even then, when Kotex launched disposable pads around 1920, women were too embarrassed to buy them from a male pharmacist. Stores literally set up honesty tables so women could leave a coin and grab a discreet package without a word exchanged. The modern tampon with an applicator wasn't patented until 1931 and didn't hit shelves as Tampax until the mid-1930s. So let that land for a second. Women have been menstruating for the entire existence of our species, hundreds of thousands of years. And the basic, unremarkable products sitting in your bathroom cabinet right now are barely a century old. For nearly all of human history, this was handled with wool, linen, papyrus, moss, rags, and total silence, generation after generation, with zero instructions. So here's the real story. It was never about materials. Cloth, wool, sponges, papyrus, all of it existed almost everywhere. The only thing that ever actually changed across history was whether a culture decided this was shameful, sacred, or just biology. That decision is what controlled whether women got to keep living their lives or got pushed into isolation and silence. And somehow this, one of the most universal experiences in the entire history of our species, barely makes it into a single textbook. So next time someone acts like this topic is awkward or inappropriate to talk about, remind them, Egyptian priestesses dealt with this. Roman women dealt with this. Medieval peasants dealt with this. It's not taboo. It's just history nobody bothered to write down. If this kind of history no one teaches you, content is your thing. Subscribe. There's a lot more of it coming.